Boston drowned in white. Jamal Mitchell, a black single dad in his 30s, stood at the window of the 32nd floor watching snowflakes the size of quarters slam against the glass. The forecast had called it a nor'easter, the kind that shut down highways and grounded flights, the kind that made the city hold its breath. He should have left an hour ago, but Zoe was sleeping over at her friend Madison's house tonight, and for once Jamal didn't have to rush home to microwave dinosaur-shaped chicken nuggets or help with third-grade math homework. For once he could stay late and finish the quarterly projection report without guilt gnawing at his chest. The office was a ghost town. Marketing had cleared out by 4, legal by 5. Even the sales team, who usually stayed until midnight chasing West Coast deals, had abandoned their desks. All except one light. 32 floors up, corner office, floor-to-ceiling glass overlooking the harbor. Evelyn Sterling's office. Jamal had worked at Sterling Tech for 3 years. He'd been in her presence exactly 11 times. Each time he'd felt the temperature drop 5 degrees. Evelyn didn't smile, didn't small talk, didn't tolerate inefficiency, excuses, or eye contact that lasted longer than necessary. She was brilliant, ruthless, untouchable, and right now, through the frosted glass walls of her office, Jamal could see her shoulders shaking. He froze. Evelyn Sterling didn't cry. She didn't break. She fired people via email at 6 a.m. and closed 9-figure deals before lunch. She'd once told a venture capitalist to leave her building because he interrupted her twice, but there she was, hunched over her desk, head in her hands, mascara streaking down her pale cheeks like cracks in marble. Jamal's first instinct was to leave, pretend he hadn't seen, respect the distance she'd built around herself like a fortress. But then her head lifted. Their eyes met through the glass. 3 seconds. No movement, no sound, just the howl of wind rattling the windows and the hum of the building's ventilation system. Then she stood, walked to the door, opened it. Her voice was barely audible over the storm outside. "Help me." Jamal stepped inside. The office smelled like bergamot and cold air. Evelyn's navy dress was wrinkled. Her hair, usually pulled into a perfect low bun, had come loose, strands stuck to her damp face. "I need you to come with me," she said quietly. "Where?" "A wedding. Family, tonight. At the Fairmont Copley Plaza." Jamal blinked. "In this storm? Why me?" She looked at him for a long moment. Her green eyes were glassy, exhausted. "Because you won't ask questions." "I just did." A flicker of something crossed her face, almost a smile. "You won't ask the ones that matter." Jamal thought of Zoe tucked into Madison's sleeping bag, probably giggling over some cartoon. He thought of his empty apartment, the framed photo on the wall of a smiling black family, him, Aaliyah, and a 4-year-old Zoe with tight braids and missing front teeth. He thought of the way Evelyn's hands were trembling, even though she was trying to hide them behind her back. "What do you need me to do?" "Pretend to be my boyfriend." The words hit him like a slap. "Your boyfriend?" 3 months, she said. "We met at a board dinner." "You made me laugh." I don't laugh often. It felt unexpected. She recited it like a script she'd memorized. "They'll ask about your background, your job, your intentions." "You're head of product analytics, Yale undergrad." "Widowed," Jamal corrected quietly. Evelyn stopped. Her expression softened. "Just a fraction? I'm sorry, 4 years ago." He nodded slowly. "Then you understand." "Understand what?" "Why I can't go alone." Outside, the snow fell harder. The city lights blurred into a wash of gold and white. Jamal knew this was insane, knew he should say no, knew that walking into Evelyn Sterling's personal life was like stepping onto a frozen lake without checking the ice. But something in her voice, the rawness beneath the control, made him stay. "One condition," he said. "What?" "After tonight, you tell me the truth about what I saw, about why you're really doing this." Evelyn studied him, then extended her hand. "Deal." Her palm was ice cold. Outside, the storm intensified. The suit arrived at Jamal's apartment 40 minutes later. Charcoal gray Italian wool, Tom Ford label. It fit like it had been made for him because it had. Jamal stared at the delivery receipt. Rush tailoring. 3 measurements taken from his employee file photo. Evelyn had planned this. How long had she been planning this? His phone buzzed. Evelyn, car downstairs, 8 minutes. He buttoned the shirt, knotted the silk tie, stared at himself in the mirror. A black man with warm brown skin, close-cropped curls, and tired eyes stared back. The last time he'd worn something this expensive was his wedding. Aaliyah had loved navy blue. He pushed the thought away and headed downstairs. The Mercedes idled at the curb, hazard lights cutting through the snow. The driver opened the rear door without a word. Evelyn sat inside, transformed. Gone was the wrinkled dress and smudged makeup. She wore a dark emerald gown, sleeveless, structured, elegant. Her hair was swept up. Diamond earrings caught the streetlight. She looked like she belonged on a magazine cover, but her hands were clenched in her lap. "You clean up well," she said as Jamal slid in beside her. "So do you." The car pulled into traffic, or what was left of it. The streets were nearly empty. Plows worked overtime. The city moved in slow motion. "Ground rules," Evelyn said. She didn't look at him. "We met 3 months ago, October 15th. Board dinner at No Park. You made a comment about the wine pairing. I corrected you. You didn't get defensive. I found that refreshing." Jamal listened. "We've kept it private. You have a daughter, Zoe, 8 years old. I've met her twice. She likes me, but isn't sure yet. That's realistic, is it?" Evelyn finally looked at him. "Children are perceptive. They don't trust easily. Neither do you." Her jaw tightened. "We don't broadcast the relationship at work. It's nobody's business. But tonight, my family needed proof that I'm not." "Not what?" "Incapable of connection." The vulnerability in her voice caught him off guard. "Why me?" Jamal asked again. "You could have hired someone, an actor, A. I don't trust actors." She turned to the window. Snow streaked across the glass like static. "I needed someone who wouldn't perform. Someone who'd react like a real person. Someone who..." She hesitated. "Someone who's loved someone." Jamal's throat tightened. "I saw your file," Evelyn continued. "After Aaliyah passed, you took 3 months off, came back part-time, rearranged your entire schedule around Zoe. You turned down a promotion because it required travel." She looked at him. "You know what it's like to put someone else first, and you don't." The honesty was brutal. "My family thinks I'm broken," she said quietly. "My mother thinks I'm selfish. My brother thinks I'm lonely. My ex-fiancé thinks I'm..." She stopped herself. "Ex-fiancé. He'll be there tonight." Jamal exhaled slowly. "Great. His name is Nathaniel Cross. We were engaged for 8 months. He wanted me to scale back at work. Said I was choosing the company over us. He wasn't wrong." Her voice was flat, clinical. "He married someone else 6 months ago. My cousin. It's fine." "It's not." Evelyn's expression didn't change, but her fingers uncurled slightly. "The story is simple. We're dating. It's new but serious. You make me happy. I'm trying." She paused. "Can you sell that?" Jamal thought about the way she'd looked in her office, the way her voice had cracked on the words, "Help me," the way she was holding herself together now with nothing but sheer will. "Yeah," he said, "I can sell that." The car turned onto Dartmouth Street. The Fairmont Copley Plaza glowed ahead like a palace in the snow. Evelyn reached for the door handle, stopped, turned back to him. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Don't thank me yet." She almost smiled. Then they stepped into the storm. The Fairmont lobby was a cathedral of marble and gold. Crystal chandeliers the size of compact cars. Persian rugs thick enough to swallow footsteps. A string quartet played Vivaldi near the curved staircase, and waiters glided through the crowd with champagne flutes balanced on silver trays. It was a different world. Jamal's world was Zoe's soccer games and grocery store sushi and trying to fix the washing machine with YouTube tutorials. This was wealth that didn't announce itself. It simply existed, unquestioned and absolute. As a black man in a perfectly tailored tux, Jamal felt that familiar prickle of awareness on the back of his neck, the quiet calculation of who belonged and who didn't, but he squared his shoulders and followed Evelyn's lead. Evelyn's hand slipped into his. Her palm was still cold. "Smile," she murmured. "My mother's watching." Jamal followed her gaze. Margaret Sterling stood near the grand staircase, draped in cream silk and pearls. She was 70, but looked 55. Her posture was military straight, and her eyes, pale blue, calculating, locked onto Jamal like a sniper finding her target. She approached slowly, deliberately. Evelyn, no warmth, just acknowledgement. Then her gaze shifted. And you must be Jamal. Mrs. Sterling. He extended his hand. She took it with 2 fingers like touching something distasteful. Yale, I'm told. Yes, ma'am. Class of 2009. She released his hand. And your family? Where are they from? Pittsburgh. My father was a union electrician. My mother taught elementary school. Margaret's expression didn't change, but the silence said everything. How grounded, she said finally. Evelyn's grip on Jamal's hand tightened. And you work for my daughter. With her, Jamal corrected gently. I lead the product analytics team. How convenient. Mother, Evelyn started. I'm simply curious, darling. You've never brought anyone to a family event. Forgive me for wanting to understand who's captured your attention. Margaret smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. You're very selective about where you invest your time. Jamal's different, is he? Before Evelyn could respond, a man's voice cut through the tension. Evie. A tall man in his early 40s approached, sandy hair, easy smile, navy suit tailored to perfection. He pulled Evelyn into a hug that actually looked genuine. William, Evelyn said, and her shoulders relaxed a fraction. William turned to Jamal. You're the mystery man, finally. He shook Jamal's hand with real warmth. William Sterling, the disappointing sibling. He's a professor at Harvard, Evelyn said. Constitutional law, which pays nothing and impresses no one at these events, William said cheerfully. But at least I'm not the one running a tech empire and dating an employee. You're definitely the rebel now. Margaret's jaw tightened. We should find our table, she said coldly. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. She turned and walked away, heels clicking on marble. William winced. Subtle as ever. He looked at Evelyn. You okay? Fine, liar. He squeezed her shoulder. Hang in there. And you, he pointed at Jamal, survived tonight and you're officially family, in the most horrifying sense. He walked off. Evelyn exhaled slowly. I'm sorry, she said quietly. For what? For subjecting you to this? Jamal looked around the ballroom, guests in designer gowns and tuxedos, a 10-tier wedding cake that probably cost more than his car, a world where people were measured by pedigree and tax brackets. I faced worse, he said. Like what? Zoe's school talent show, 2 hours of off-key recorders. Evelyn laughed, actually laughed, quiet and sudden and real. And for just a second, the fortress cracked. Then a voice behind them, smooth, confident, familiar to her, made Evelyn's entire body go rigid. Evelyn, you look stunning. Jamal turned. The man standing there was perfect. Objectively, undeniably perfect. Tailored tuxedo, sharp jawline, dark hair graying at the temples in that distinguished way. He looked like he'd stepped out of a cologne ad, and the way Evelyn was looking at him. This was Nathaniel Cross, the ex-fiancé, the wound that hadn't healed. Nathaniel's smile was polished, practiced, the kind that had probably closed 1,000 deals. It's been a while, he said to Evelyn. 6 months, she replied. Her voice was controlled, too controlled. Has it? Nathaniel tilted his head. Feels longer. His gaze shifted to Jamal. And you are? Jamal Mitchell. Nathaniel Cross. They shook hands. Nathaniel's grip was firm, competitive. How do you know Evelyn? We're dating. Nathaniel's eyebrows rose, just a fraction. Are you? How unexpected. Why unexpected? Evelyn asked. Because you once told me you didn't have time for relationships. That work came first. That commitment meant compromise, and you didn't compromise. His tone was light, but the words landed like stones. Has something changed? What? I met someone worth compromising for, Evelyn said. Nathaniel studied Jamal, really looked at him. And what do you do, Jamal? I work at Sterling Tech. A pause. You work for her. With her, Jamal corrected again. Nathaniel's smile sharpened. How modern, dating your employee. I'm sure HR loves that. We're transparent about it, Evelyn said coolly. Unlike some people, the air between them crackled. Nathaniel raised his hands in mock surrender. I'm not here to fight, Evie. I'm happy for you. Truly. He glanced toward the ballroom entrance. Claire will be thrilled to hear you've moved on. Claire, the cousin, the woman Nathaniel had married. Evelyn's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Enjoy the wedding, Nathaniel said. He paused, looked at Jamal. Take care of her. She's fragile, even if she won't admit it. Then he walked away. Evelyn stood perfectly still. Too still. Evelyn, I need air. She turned and walked toward the terrace doors. Fast, precise, like she was fleeing a fire. Jamal followed. The terrace was empty. Snow swirled through the air, coating the stone balustrades and wrought iron furniture. The wind bit through Jamal's suit jacket, but Evelyn didn't seem to notice. She gripped the railing, knuckles white. "He's wrong," Jamal said quietly. "About what? You're not fragile." Evelyn laughed, bitter and sharp. "You don't know me. I know you built a company from nothing. I know you've survived rooms full of men who wanted you to fail. I know you don't cry in front of people, except tonight." She turned to face him. Her eyes were glassy again. "Do you know why I asked you to come?" "Tell me." "Because Nathaniel was right. I don't know how to let people in. I don't know how to be soft. I don't know how to be anything other than." She gestured at herself. "This, controlled, competent, cold." "You're not cold." "Yes, I am." "Then why are you shaking?" Evelyn looked down at her hands. They were trembling. "I used to think strength meant not needing anyone," she said quietly. "That if I could just be smart enough, work hard enough, prove myself enough, I wouldn't have to ask for help. I wouldn't have to depend on anyone. And now I'm standing on a terrace in a snowstorm with a man I barely know, pretending we're in love because I'm too scared to walk into that room alone." The honesty broke something open in Jamal's chest. "You're not alone," he said. "Yes, I am." "No, you're not." He stepped closer, close enough to see the flakes of snow catching in her hair, close enough to see the exhaustion carved into her face. "I lost my wife 4 years ago," he said quietly. "Car accident, black ice. She was coming home from a conference. I got the call at 2 a.m. Zoe was 4. Evelyn's expression softened. "For a year, I was a ghost," Jamal continued. "I went through the motions, fed Zoe, helped her brush her teeth, read her bedtime stories, but I wasn't there. Not really. I was just surviving." "What changed?" "Zoe asked me if I was sad because of her." Evelyn's breath caught. She thought I was distant because she'd done something wrong, because she wasn't enough. His voice cracked, and I realized I'd been so focused on protecting myself from the pain that I'd forgotten how to be present. "How did you fix it?" "I stopped pretending I was fine. I let her see me cry. I let her ask questions. I let her be scared. And I was scared with her. And slowly, so slowly, we found our way back." Evelyn was quiet for a long time. Then, softly, "I don't know how to do that." "Do what?" "Let someone see me break." Jamal reached out slowly, gave her time to step back. She didn't. He took her hand. "You already did," he said. "Tonight, in your office." A tear slid down her cheek, then another. Then she was crying, really crying, and Jamal pulled her into his arms. She buried her face in his shoulder, and he held her while the snow fell around them, silent and relentless. Evelyn's body shook against his. Not from the cold, from something deeper, something she'd been holding in for months, maybe years. Jamal didn't speak, didn't try to fix it, just held her. The wind howled. The city below was a blur of white and gold. Somewhere inside, the string quartet played Pachelbel's Canyon. The wedding was starting. Neither of them moved. "I'm sorry," Evelyn whispered eventually, her voice muffled against his shoulder. "For what?" "For falling apart." "You're not falling apart. You're just feeling." She pulled back slightly, looked up at him. Mascara streaked down her cheeks again. Her lipstick was smudged. She looked nothing like the polished CEO who ran board meetings and closed deals. She looked human. "I haven't cried in front of someone since I was 12, she said quietly. "What happened when you were 12? "My father died. Heart attack. I found him in his study." Her voice was flat, detached. "My mother told me crying wouldn't bring him back, that I needed to be strong for William. So I was." Jamal's chest tightened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It made me who I am." She wiped at her face. Ruthless, efficient, successful, lonely. The word hung between them. Evelyn didn't deny it. "Nathaniel used to say I loved the company more than I loved him," she said. "He wasn't wrong. I did. I still do." She looked out at the storm. "But it's not because I don't want love. It's because work is safe, predictable. If I put in the hours, I get results. If I make smart decisions, I succeed. People." She trailed off. "People are messy. People leave." Jamal stepped closer. "People also stay." Evelyn met his eyes. "Aaliyah stayed," he said quietly, "even when I was impossible. Even when I worked 60-hour weeks trying to prove myself at my first job. Even when I forgot our anniversary because I was chasing a promotion that didn't matter." His voice cracked. "She stayed until she couldn't." "I'm sorry." "Me too." He paused. "But Zoe stayed." My parents stayed, my friends stayed, the people who matter, they don't leave just because you're not perfect. How do you know? Because love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Evelyn's eyes glistened. I don't know how to show up, she whispered. I only know how to show up perfect. Then stop. I can't. Why not? Because if I'm not perfect, if I'm not the smartest person in the room, the most prepared, the most in control, then what am... Jamal reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her face. His thumb grazed her cheek and she didn't pull away. You're someone who built a company from nothing, he said softly. Someone who employs 300 people and changed an industry. Someone who's terrified of weddings and bad at asking for help and standing in a snowstorm crying in front of a man you barely know. That doesn't sound impressive. It sounds real. Evelyn's breath hitched. I don't want to be real, she said. Real is vulnerable. Real is weak. Real is brave. She shook her head. I'm not brave. You asked me to help you. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Something shifted in her expression. The walls she'd built brick by brick, year by year, started to crack. I'm tired, she whispered. I'm so tired of holding everything together. Then let go. I can't. Yes, you can. What if I fall apart? Then I'll be here. Evelyn stared at him, searching his face for a lie, for a catch, for the moment he'd walk away. But Jamal didn't move, and slowly, so slowly, she leaned forward. Her forehead rested against his chest. Her hands gripped his jacket, and she let herself be held. They stood like that for a long time. The snow fell, the music played, the world moved around them. But on that terrace, time stopped. Thank you, Evelyn whispered. For what? For not running. Jamal's arms tightened around her. I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time all night, maybe the first time in years, Evelyn believed it. Evelyn pulled back slowly. Her eyes were red. Her makeup was ruined. But her expression was clearer, calmer. We should go inside, she said quietly. Do you want to? She hesitated. No. Then we don't. They'll talk. Let them. Evelyn almost smiled. You don't care what people think, do you? I used to. Then my wife died, and I realized most of what people think doesn't matter. The only opinions that count are the ones from people who actually know you. He paused. Do they know you? My family? Yeah. Evelyn looked back toward the ballroom through the frosted glass. Shapes moved, guests dancing, laughing, celebrating. No, she said. They know the version of me I show them. The successful one, the one who doesn't need anything. What about the real one? I don't show her to anyone. Why not? Because the real one is scared and small and convinced that if people see her, they'll realize she's not worth the effort. Jamal's chest ached. That's not true. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He reached for her hand. Because I'm looking at her right now, and she's worth everything. Evelyn's breath caught. Jamal, I mean it. You think being vulnerable makes you weak. But it doesn't. It makes you human. And humans are messy and scared and imperfect, and they're still worth loving. Her eyes filled again. I don't know how to let people love me. Then start small. Let me... The words hung in the cold air. Evelyn stared at him. This was supposed to be fake. I know we barely know each other. I know this doesn't make sense. I know. She stepped closer. Close enough that he could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. Close enough that her breath fogged in the space between them. Then why does it feel real? She whispered. Jamal didn't answer. He just leaned down and kissed her. Soft, tentative, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Instead, she kissed him back. Her hands slid up to his shoulders. His arms circled her waist. And for a moment, the storm disappeared. The wedding disappeared. There was just this, just them. Just the truth of two people choosing to be seen. When they finally pulled apart, Evelyn's eyes were wide. That was real, Jamal finished. She nodded, yeah. They stood there, foreheads touching, breathing in sync. Then the terrace door opened. Margaret Sterling stood in the doorway, her expression frozen in shock. Evelyn. Evelyn didn't step away from Jamal, didn't drop his hand, didn't fall back into the controlled, untouchable version of herself. She stayed. Mother, she said calmly. Margaret's gaze flicked between them. The ceremony is starting. We'll be there in a moment. People are asking where you are. I'm here. Margaret's jaw tightened. With him. A long, tense silence. Then Margaret turned and walked back inside, heels clicking on marble. Evelyn exhaled slowly. That went well, Jamal said dryly. Evelyn laughed, actually laughed. She hates you. Does that bother you? She looked up at him. No. Good. Evelyn squeezed his hand. We should probably go inside before she sends a search party. Probably. But neither of them moved. They stood on the terrace a moment longer, snow falling around them, holding on to something fragile and new and terrifying. Then together they walked back into the storm. The ballroom buzzed with whispers. Evelyn felt them the moment she and Jamal stepped inside, eyes tracking their entrance, mouths hidden behind champagne flutes. But this time she didn't straighten her spine and pretend she didn't notice. This time she reached for Jamal's hand and held it. Margaret stood near the head table, her expression glacial. William caught Evelyn's eye and gave her a subtle thumbs up. Nathaniel was nowhere to be seen. Table 7, Evelyn murmured, guiding Jamal towards the edge of the ballroom. They navigated through the crowd. Evelyn nodded politely at distant cousins and family friends whose names she'd forgotten. They just reached their table when a hand landed on Jamal's shoulder. Nathaniel, of course. Mind if I borrow him for a moment? Nathaniel's tone was friendly, too friendly. Evelyn's grip on Jamal's hand tightened. Actually, she started. It's fine, Jamal said quietly. He looked at Evelyn. I'll be right back. She wanted to protest, wanted to pull him away, but she nodded. Nathaniel led Jamal toward the bar, away from the crowd, into the shadows near the corridor. Evelyn watched them go, her chest tight. Scotch? Nathaniel offered. I'm good. Suit yourself? Nathaniel ordered a double, took a long sip. So, you and Evelyn? Yeah. How long? 3 months. And you work for her? With her. Nathaniel smiled. You keep saying that like it changes the power dynamic. Jamal didn't respond. Look, Nathaniel said, setting down his glass. About what? About you. Nathaniel leaned against the bar. Evelyn is brilliant, driven, extraordinary, but she's also incapable of putting another person first. She can't. It's not in her wiring. You don't know her as well as you think. I was engaged to her for 8 months. I know her better than most. Nathaniel's voice softened. She'll tell you she's trying. She'll make promises, but when it matters, when there's a choice between you and the company, she'll choose the company every time. Maybe she just didn't choose you. Nathaniel's smile faded. I cared about her, he said quietly. I wanted to build a life with her. But she couldn't let go of control long enough to let me in. She couldn't be vulnerable, couldn't admit she needed help, couldn't be anything other than perfect. He paused. Can she do that with you? Jamal thought about the terrace, about the way Evelyn had broken open in his arms, about the kiss that had felt like the first honest thing either of them had done in years. Yeah, he said, she can. Nathaniel studied him. Then you're either lying or you're in for a world of hurt. I'll take my chances. Jamal met his gaze. Because she's worth it. Nathaniel laughed, bitter and low. Good luck with that. He walked away. Jamal stood there, Nathaniel's words echoing in his head. She can't love. She'll choose the company. You're in for a world of hurt. He wanted to dismiss it. Wanted to believe Nathaniel was wrong, but doubt crept in anyway. Evelyn saw them return, saw the tension in Jamal's shoulders, saw the way Nathaniel's smile didn't reach his eyes. She stood and crossed to Jamal. What did he say? Nothing important. Jamal, he said, you can't love. Jamal's voice was quiet. That you'll always choose work over everything else. Evelyn's face went pale. Is he right? Jamal asked. She opened her mouth, closed it. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. They stood there, the noise of the party swirling around them, and Evelyn realized this was the moment. The moment where she could retreat, rebuild the walls, protect herself, or she could choose something else. Evelyn's heart hammered. Nathaniel appeared at her elbow. Can we talk privately? Evelyn sighed. I said no. 5 minutes, please. Jamal stepped back. I'll give you two some space. Don't, Evelyn said quickly. She looked at Nathaniel. Whatever you have to say, you can say it here. Nathaniel glanced around. Guests were watching, pretending not to, but watching. Fine, he straightened. I have an offer for you. I'm not interested. You haven't heard it yet. I don't need to. Crossbridge Consulting is opening a tech advisory division. We want someone who understands the industry, someone brilliant, someone with your reputation. He paused. I want you to run it. Evelyn blinked. You're offering me a job. A partnership, equity, full autonomy, better hours, better work-life balance. You could actually have a life, Evelyn. I have a life. Do you? Nathaniel gestured around the ballroom. You're 38 years old. You run a company that demands 80-hour weeks. You don't have hobbies. You don't have friends outside of work. You barely see your family. And now you're dating an employee because he's convenient. That's not... When was the last time you took a vacation? When was the last time you woke up and didn't immediately check your email? When was the last time you chose yourself over sterling tech? The words hit like bullets because they were true. All of them. I'm offering you a way out, Nathaniel said gently. A way to be excellent without sacrificing everything else. Evelyn looked at him, really looked at him. He meant it. He genuinely thought he was helping. But he was wrong. No, she said. Evelyn. I said no. She took a breath. Because I'm not looking for a way out, I'm looking for a way through. Nathaniel frowned. What does that mean? It means I'm tired of people telling me I have to choose work or life, success or love, control or vulnerability. Her voice was steady, certain. I don't want balance. I want integration. I want a life where I can be ambitious and soft, driven and present, successful and human. That's not realistic. Maybe not, but it's what I want. Nathaniel shook his head. You're chasing an impossible standard. Then I'll fail. But at least I'll fail trying to be whole. Not trying to be half of myself. She turned to Jamal. He was watching her. Eyes dark, expression unreadable. I choose myself, Evelyn said. Loud enough for Nathaniel to hear. Loud enough for the room to hear. Not the version of me that makes other people comfortable. Not the version that's easy to understand. The real one. The messy, complicated, imperfect one. Jamal's expression softened. Nathaniel stared at her. You're making a mistake. Probably, she smiled, small and real. But it's mine to make. He stood there a moment longer, then nodded slowly. I already did. He walked away. The room was silent. Then William started clapping. Slow, deliberate. A few others joined in. Tentative at first, then louder. Margaret stood frozen near the head table, her expression unreadable. Evelyn didn't look at her. She looked at Jamal. And for the first time in her life, she didn't care what anyone else thought. She crossed to him, took his hand. Let's get out of here, she said. Jamal smiled. Yeah. What about the wedding? They'll survive without me. Your mother. She'll get over it. Jamal laughed. You sure? Evelyn squeezed his hand. I've never been more sure of anything. They walked out together into the snow, into the unknown, into something real. The cold hit them the moment they stepped outside. The snow had intensified. Fat, heavy flakes that blurred the city into abstraction. The streets were nearly empty. Plows rumbled in the distance. The valet looked startled when they appeared. Your car, Miss Sterling? Yes, please. He hesitated. The roads are... I know. He nodded and hurried off. Evelyn and Jamal stood under the portico, watching the storm. You just walked out of your cousin's wedding, Jamal said. I did. Your mother's going to kill you. Probably. Was it worth it? Evelyn looked at him. Yes. The Mercedes pulled up. They climbed inside. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror. Where to? Evelyn paused. The river. Ma'am, Charles River, near the Esplanade. The driver nodded and pulled into traffic. They drove in silence. The city slid past. Gold streetlights, dark windows, snow piling on empty sidewalks. Boston had shut down. The storm had won. But inside the car, it was warm. Jamal's dark brown hand found Evelyn's, his thumb brushing her knuckles. I meant what I said back there, she said quietly, about choosing yourself. Good. I don't know how to do it. No one does. You just start. Jamal thought for a moment. By being honest, about what you want, about what scares you, about what you need. What if people leave? Some will. What if everyone does? Then you'll still have yourself. And that's enough. Evelyn's eyes stung. I've spent my entire life trying to be indispensable, she said, trying to be so good, so valuable that people wouldn't dare walk away. But it didn't work. My father still died. Nathaniel still left. My mother still looks at me like I'm a stranger. Because you can't control other people. You can only control who you are. And who am I? I don't know yet. Jamal smiled. But I'd like to find out. Evelyn's breath hitched. The car stopped. They were parked along the Esplanade. The river stretched out beside them, frozen, silent, covered in snow. The city lights reflected on the ice like ghosts. Why did you bring me here? Jamal asked. My father used to take me here when I was little. Sunday mornings. We'd walk along the river and he'd tell me about his dreams, about the company he wanted to build, the legacy he wanted to leave. She stared out at the frozen expanse. He told me I could do anything, be anything, as long as I never stopped moving forward. So, you didn't? No, I didn't. She turned to him, but I forgot to stop and ask myself why I was running, or where I was going. I just ran, and now I'm tired. Jamal reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face. Then stop, he said softly. Just for tonight. Stop running, stop proving, stop being perfect. What if I don't know how to be anything else? Then we'll figure it out together. Evelyn stared at him. Why are you doing this? She whispered. Because I see you, the real you, and I like her. You don't even know her. I know enough. Evelyn's walls crumbled. She leaned forward, kissed him, not tentative this time, not careful, real. When they pulled apart, her voice was barely audible over the wind. I don't want to pretend this didn't happen. Neither do I. I don't know where this goes. Me neither. I'm probably gonna mess it up. Probably. She laughed, soft and broken and real. Come home with me, she said. Jamal searched her face. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. He smiled. Okay. They told the driver the address, and the car pulled back into the storm. The penthouse was exactly what Jamal expected. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, minimalist furniture, sharp lines, neutral colors, nothing out of place. Art on the walls that probably cost more than his salary. Everything curated, everything controlled, everything empty. Evelyn kicked off her heels the moment the door closed. Do you want something to drink? She asked. Water's fine. She disappeared into the kitchen. Jamal wandered toward the windows. The city sprawled below, dark except for scattered lights and the glow of snow-covered streets. It was beautiful, cold, lonely. Evelyn returned with 2 glasses of water. They stood side by side looking out at the storm. This is where you live, Jamal said. It's nice. It's empty. She glanced at him. I bought it 5 years ago, after my engagement ended. I wanted something that was mine, something no one could touch, something I controlled completely. She set down her glass. But it's just space. I work, I sleep, I leave. There's nothing here that makes it home. What would make it home? I don't know. She turned to him. I've never had one. Not really. After my father died, the house felt like a museum. My mother preserved everything. His study, his books, his chair. Like if she kept it all perfect, he'd come back. Her voice cracked. But he didn't. And I learned that you can't hold on to people by freezing time. Jamal stepped closer. You can't hold on to people at all, he said gently. You can only love them while they're here. Evelyn's eyes filled. I'm so tired of being alone, she whispered. Then stop. I don't know how. Yes, you do. Let me stay. The words hung between them. Evelyn's breath caught. For tonight? She asked. For as long as you'll have me. Jamal's voice was steady. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm just asking you to try. What if I can't? Then we'll figure it out. What if I hurt you? You will, and I'll hurt you. That's what people do. But it doesn't mean we stop trying. Evelyn stared at him, tears streaming down her face now. I don't deserve you, she whispered. That's not your decision to make. She laughed, broken and wet and real. Then she closed the distance, kissed him. Her hands slid up to his face, his arms wrapped around her waist. And for the first time in years, Evelyn felt something other than fear. She felt hope. They ended up on the couch, not doing anything, just sitting close. Her head on his shoulder, his hand in her hair. The storm raged outside. The city slept. Inside, it was quiet. Tell me about Zoe, Evelyn said softly. Jamal smiled. She's fierce, smart, funny. She asked me last week if women can be presidents. And when I said yes, she announced she's running in 2048. Evelyn laughed. She sounds incredible. She is. He paused. She'd like you. How do you know? Because you're not fake. Kids can smell fake from a mile away. Evelyn was quiet for a moment. I'd like to meet her, she said. For real. Yeah. Jamal kissed the top of her head. She'll have questions. I know. She'll test you. Good. She might not like you at first. I don't like me most of the time. We'll figure it out. Jamal laughed. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Evelyn spoke again. I'm scared, she admitted. Of what? Of this, of us. Of wanting something I might not get to keep. That's love, Jamal said quietly. It's terrifying because it's real, and real things can be lost. How do you live with that? You don't. You just love anyway. Evelyn closed her eyes. Stay, she whispered. Tonight, tomorrow, as long as you want. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I. We're going to mess this up. Probably. But you're staying anyway? Jamal pulled her closer. Yeah, he said, I'm staying. Evelyn woke to unfamiliar warmth. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she felt the weight of Jamal's arm across her waist, heard his steady breathing, saw the snow still falling outside. Dawn was breaking, soft and gray and quiet. She turned carefully. Jamal was still asleep, his face relaxed, peaceful. She watched him for a long moment. Then she got up, padded to the kitchen, made coffee. When she returned, he was awake. Morning, he said, voice rough with sleep. Morning. She handed him a mug. They sat by the window watching the city wake up under fresh snow. What happens now? Evelyn asked quietly. I don't know. That doesn't scare you? Terrifies me. She smiled. Good. I'd hate to be the only one. Jamal reached for her hand, his fingers dark against her paler skin, laced with hers. We'll figure it out, he said. One day at a time, one honest conversation at a time, one mistake at a time. Evelyn leaned into him. Outside, Boston stretched endlessly white and new and waiting. Inside, two people sat in the quiet morning light, not perfect, not certain, just real.